Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Interpro Show, your home for all things Irish rugby from across the professional and amateur, men's and women's game in Ireland. I'm your host, Caelan Scully, and I'm joined as always by Ulster Adam, who is just there, by Limerick Ben, who is the other way, he's over there, and we have a new guest right there beside me. I don't know what we're going to call him yet, we'll figure that out in due course, but he is a Leinster fan who for the balance of it all, he will be picked on, but he will also pick on us. So it's fine. That's how it's going to work. That it's perfectly cyclical now. We have four people to pick on each other. David Cordial, without further ado, welcome to the Interpro Show. Tell us about yourself really quickly first, and it could be anything you like.
I wasn't told there was going to be an introduction section. Yeah, no, happy to represent Leinster here. Big Connacht fan as well. The rest of you can get stuffed. Yeah, no, always looking for an excuse to chat shit about rugby. Um, Looking forward to talking about a lot of it, a lot of it tonight, and hopefully some of it good.
And that's the where the importance of conjunctions comes in because it's also chatting shit and chatting rugby as well. Sometimes we were literally just talking about traders before we came on air, here, but lots to get into. This is our Rugby World Cup special for tonight. We're going to look at Ireland's games against Spain, Japan, and New Zealand, of which two of us are heading over to Brighton for that one, and we also have the women's interpros to discuss. Sorry about that, David. That was not planned as to be anti you, but it's just the way it is. We're going to start off with last Sunday's action as Ireland. I'm not going to say cruised, but they certainly steamrolled their way to a 43-27 victory over Spain in Franklin's Gardens. Ben, as the resident Franklin's Gardens enthusiast, I'll let you start things off here. Not necessarily the most dominant, not necessarily the most perfect, but another good win and into the quarterfinals after two games after an 8 year absence. That's the headline, isn't it?
Exactly. Look, it was job done. A slight regression on the first game, I thought. We did about as well as could be expected. Now, I will get into it later if we discuss some tactics, but there was some defensive sets that needs to be improved based on what the All Blacks did again, what the All Blacks did against Japan. If we give them the same amount of space, if we kick as poorly as we did at times against Spain, we're going to be in huge trouble on Sunday. But look, it was job done. We got the tries we needed. We had the BP wrapped up early. Were we a bit complacent? Probably, but at the end of the day, can have no real complaints.
Like it was a very good win for Ireland and all that. But David, I suppose, as Ben said, I wouldn't use the word regression myself, but at the same time, there was stodgy bits, and Spain put it up to them for a while, and it looked like they could come back into this game for a while, and that's important to note as well.
Oh yeah, look, I mean, I think it's important to give all credit to Spain as well. This was a Spanish team who very much were not there just to make up the numbers. They very much put it up to Ireland, drawing level after Ireland built that 12-point lead at the start, continuing to score right up until the very end of the game. I know it was some late ref calls to chalk off what looked like it was going to be their last try, and credits them, they didn't stop and they went and got their final try as well to kind of make that scoreboard look a little bit fairer to them. So I think it's you've got to give a lot of credit to Spain for staying in the game the whole way. It's frustrating for Ireland to a degree. I think there were some frailties maybe in the Japan game that I think people hoped maybe we might be able to iron out in this game. But we went into this match, we made seven changes. That's always going to cause an element of disruption. The fact that we could make seven changes and still get a 43-27 win, I think, is a testament to the kind of depth that this squad has that maybe they didn't have in the past. I have a few positives on that front that we can talk about later as well. But you know, at the end of the day, it wasn't perfect, but getting the job done in imperfect circumstances is kind of a testament to a good squad. And I also think that it is quite a common thing for Irish teams to rise to occasions, and they did what they needed to do to get what was still you know a three-score lead win in this game. Um, would that performance necessarily do the job next week? No, but I think a different fight will bring out a different animal, and I wouldn't be too concerned about our chances next week. So I think at the end of the day, it's kind of what Ben says. It's job done. We're into the quarterfinal, and after not even being in the competition 4 years ago, I think that's a massive improvement, and something a lot of these players can happily hang their hats on.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for a little plug, because you mentioned Animal, a bit of an Animal, our South African correspondent podcast, I'm sure we're going to have a big week because they had that massive result over Italy, qualified for their first ever quarterfinals. That's worth noting. But Adam, to kind of come back on it, I've no way to go from Animal to line out because we're going to discuss that. But Ireland had a shaky line out in round one. They went 12 from 12 or 13 from 13 this week. It was 100%. Is exactly what you wanted to see. And I think once you've seen that, Ireland just started to look more clinical, almost as a confidence thing that it was like, once we get down there, we know we're going to score. And that is important when you get into cup rugby stages as well.
Very much so. I was watching this on a boat. I was watching this on a boat back to Belfast. No, back to Liverpool even. So yeah, it was one of those where I was watching it, and yeah, as you said, the lineup was clinical. That meant that as you said, it opened up a new entire way of platform of scoring for Ireland as well. The confidence that this will bring in terms of the set piece would be twofold going into the Black Ferns game. I think for what was it, O'Brien converting or literally anything and everything at the minute. I think she missed a few, bearing in mind in the Spain, but I think she's absolutely phenomenal. She's just playing around the pitch. She's controlling the games well. I think the pack is also clicking as well, as you said, with the line out, and some with the scrum as well. There's like a couple of the ruck when you put on the screen there. There's the ruck things as well. Winning the rucks as well. I think Spain won more rucks, but at the end of the day, we need to be scoring the points, and at the minute we're scoring all the points that we need to do. Um, the defense, yes, was leaky. There's still a little bit of improvements to be made there, for the New Zealand, but it's nice to be hitting a time now where we're in form and we're heading right into Cup Rugby, and hopefully it's going to be a brilliant game down in Brighton on Sunday.
Yeah, well, that's the hope because, as I said, there's two of us heading down there. I'm one of them. I'll let the other person reveal themselves in a minute. But Ben, there's something really important to look at here because Spain had more carries, which is, yes, that's important and ruck success. Ireland's ruck was a little bit slower at the weekend. It felt, I haven't seen the exact stat on that, but Ireland had more meters carried, for instance. Defenders beaten, this is where defense becomes a little bit shaky. High pass numbers, kicking numbers, even though they're almost identical, it's important to note that in this code the kicking varies from the men's game, and that is typically it's a little bit lower anyways, so it's actually quite high. But what was your kind of takeaway from how Ireland went about going upfield, accumulating points, getting that attack going? Because it felt like, as I said to Adam, their ability to just keep plucking away and to just always feel like they were going to score was something we haven't seen in a while, probably since this time last year.
No, like when we got the ball moving, we were excellent. At a middle point, when we got the ball to 10, we got the ball to 12. We genuinely looked tremendous in attack. I will see you at the weekend and hopefully it's the same again in Brighton. The only regression is probably the wrong word for me to say. I have slight worries about our pillar defense, and when the ball goes wide, we look quite vulnerable. But again, if we're scoring tries, if we're getting our pack moving, if we're kicking as well as we are, that can be fixed in a week, ideally. Hopefully.
No, I'd agree, and I'd like to see that. I'm just going to end. I know we're going to predict. Actually, no, do you know what? I was going to go on to the squad ahead for the weekend, but we'll touch on the New Zealand game in a few moments. I want to talk about the Japan game first before we move off, and we'll do a little Vinterbros chat as well. But David, on this one, like, look, the Japan game was probably a weird one insofar as Ireland went out, they were so dominant, they were clearly always going to win this game. Eve Higgins helped massively. She's been a star performer, as has Stacey Flood, a fullback. But the talk after the game was, let's not burn out our stars. Let's rotate. Let's learn from lessons of years gone by. And okay, we've gotten the dirty diesel out of the tank, as the phrase goes, and things like that. And that was kind of the big takeaway from that game. And like with the benefit of hindsight now, you're looking at it, it's like, well, Ireland probably got the most out of both games, but specifically that Japan game was a very good hit out for what's typically your first XV, and I don't like using that phrase.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said before, the fact that they can rotate and still maintain the standards is good. But I think that was probably an issue that this team had maybe faced in the past, that beyond the first 15 they didn't have necessarily as much depth, just because the game is that little bit smaller. And that can you can manage that for as long as everybody involved stays fit and stays firing. But dip in form, an injury here or there, and suddenly you find yourself in a really dicey position. We're not really there anymore. We can switch people out a bit more, from positions across the front, at hooker to even the back row. If you told us the back row that we'd lost Aoife Wafer, we'd lost Aaron King, and then that, you would have thought that would be a death blow, and yet this team has still managed without it.
And can I jump in there just really quickly? Brittany
Yeah.
Hogan was player of the match in round one. Grace Moore could have been player of the match round two. When you talk about
You know,
next person up, there you go.
100%. And the,
Yeah.
the player of the match in round two was Elena Perry, who made a really strong argument for inclusion now in the New Zealand game. Grace Moore, that second half was just unreal. Like, that was like an incredible performance from her. So, that's the kind of depth you need for a tournament as well. Like, you can go through individual games, but if you want to win over a sustained period of time, you need a squad. 15 players
Mhm.
isn't going to win the tournament, and Ireland now has a squad. And O'Brien, we were talking. I think Adam was talking about O'Brien kicking incredibly well off the tee. Enya Breen came off the bench and did a fierce job, and kicked some excellent shots at goal as well, which has not always been a super strong point for the Ireland side. So to have even that kind of backup and depth there is exactly what you want to see, because the last thing you want is to have too much rest on one player. They go down in the first 5 minutes, and then suddenly you don't know what you're doing. Ireland's not there anymore. Ireland now can rely on, yes, we've got a phenomenal start in 15, but then we've got 8 players who can take their place off the bench, and even more behind them if we need them. And yeah, the fact that we made 7 changes, the Spanish game maybe wasn't as tidy as some people might have hoped if we'd gone out with the same 23. But considering we still got the win, I think as you said, we got the most out of the game. It was much better for the squad overall to get minutes into as many players as possible, and still put out a performance. It wasn't like we put them out, and Spain kept us honest. They played an incredible game themselves, and that's kind of what you want, both from a getting your points point of view, and from a having an opportunity to actually show what the players, both at the front and just one layer behind, are capable of. And yeah, I'd be really interested to see now, given those 7 changes, who comes back in for the New Zealand game versus maybe someone like Elena Perry, who maybe has made an argument for themselves. So it's maybe a situation now where we don't know before that 23 is named exactly who's going to be in it, and that's kind of a fun place to be.
Well, thank you very much for leading on to that, because I was going to get into a predicted 23. I posted this on Twitter during the week, and for some reason, I'm just having laptop issues all day, guys, and I think it's just because my head is fried. But this is the 23 that I have gone for. For those on audio, I know most of our listeners are on video, but I have gone for Nevo Dow to come back in at loose head prop with Clean Maloney McDonald and Ninja Jugang and the front row. Sam Monaghan, if fit, I should add. Ruth Campbell in second row. Fiona Chute remains at 6. Brittany Hogan at 8. And Aoife Wafer coming in at 7. I like that back row balance. I think there's a real power, very strong defensive focus, which is something you touched on, Ben. And then the line out of Fiona Chute. I have Avon Riley back in at 9 alongside Dan O'Brien. Eve Higgins and Aoife Dalton, inseparable. Maybe not on TikTok, we got to that in 2 minutes. Amy Lee Costigan, Bevan Parsons, and Stacey Flood. Then in the back three, and then Neve Jones, Elena Perry, Sive McGrath, Emer Corey Fallon, Grace Moore, Adele McMahon, Emily Lane, and Enya Breen. 6-2 bench split there. Um, Adam, I'm going to start with you, because before we get into this, because it's in my head and we have to talk about it, the TikToks of this women's team,
Oh,
Anna McGann, Eve Higgins, hashtag release the fleece,
yeah.
everything about it. Honest to God, like, this is what this game has been crying out for years.
I must say, this World Cup has been the best World Cup in terms of trying to be relatable to the TikTok generation, in terms of the game needs this. The fleece thing, like I'd say, like I was looking at I was in Dublin last week and I was in an Interpro slash Alvarez. But I was there and I was saying to my partner, she's from England and she supports Ireland. I've convinced her. It's all good. But I was saying about how like something about this year's kit in general has been phenomenal. The
Yeah.
Irish, the kit for this World Cup has been incredible. All the training tops were all incredible as well. The fact that there is a World Cup jersey for 2025 and there's a men's also like cut of it as well is phenomenal in itself. It's a true testament to um how much the game has grown in Ireland. The fleece as well. I'd say I'd absolutely snap that fleece up if it came out. It's something like like I'm a funky fleece enjoyer, so I would snap that fleece up. But yeah, it's something that the game needs, and I feel like the men's game needs to carry like needs to pick up on something like that. You have Maher in the
Ilona, yeah.
Alona in the US team single-handed. Well, well, to be fair, she was on Dancing with the Stars in America. She came second, but that all came from doing TikToks in the Olympic Sevens team. You know what I mean? She's probably one of the most recognizable sports people in America due to, like
Yeah.
you think that England versus USA game, we all know that England are like world class, objective class, but everyone was talking about her. They lost, but everyone was still. She was still going around
I was going to
all
say
the
post
people at the
game,
end.
everyone ran to
Yeah,
her for
ev
everyone ran to her for pictures.
She's
everyone
the
ran, and
most
she took.
followed rugby player in the world, men's or
Oh,
women's.
Yeah,
don't say that
and
too loud. We'll have a certain
yeah,
cohort after us.
but yeah, that's the thing. That she's the most followed. Like it's what rugby needs.
Yeah,
It's what this World Cup is doing right.
yeah,
It's
it really
promoting the
is.
game
And it's
whilst
everywhere,
bringing.
isn't it? Like it's
Yeah,
even like I know you shouldn't plug other podcasts on your podcast, but like Anna Caples has been on podcast and she is just so enthusiastic and so
yeah,
passionate about it. And like Elma Smith and Nick Heath and what they're doing, and it's widespread, it's everywhere, and they just get it. And I'm not going to say the line from that like TV show because I make a balls of it, but it's like those who get it get it. Like that's
yeah,
literally what it is, and they are selling the game. It's that sense of self promotion and feeling like they have to self promote, but because of that, it just comes so natural.
yeah.
It looks normal. And I was lucky I was at the HPC or the HPU, as I should say, before they jetted off, and like the girls were so engaging. Some of the answers were brilliant. I wrote a feature on the band Slow Girls, which I might discuss at a later date. And I also did a piece with Nevo Dowd. She was brilliant. Looked into it. I was like, she's very mature, very whatever. She's like 2 months older than me. And I was like, fuck it, like, do you know what I mean? Like they just get it. Isn't
it's
that it?
it's it's the
Yeah.
genuine pride and the genuine like it's the actual feeling that this World Cup is going to be the most massive World Cup, and it's sold out the Stadium of Light in Sunderland. I'm not
And
exactly
Twickenham.
sure, and
Twickenham is
Twickenham
sold
as
out.
well. Franklin Gardens as well. Like there is a call and there is a actual feeling around England, especially like there's loads of games getting shown in the pub. I can speak because I'm living here at the minute, but as I said, it was shown on the boat as well. And there's people all watching it, crowding around it. Like there is
Mhm.
the hunger is there, and to inspire the next generation of kids that are watching rugby for the first time on BBC Sport. I know in England it's RTE, RTE and Virgin, or is it just RTA?
RTE
Just
and
RT
TG
and TG.
Carr.
Yeah. So like they're inspiring kids, and that's what's good. It's free to wear rugby,
Mhm.
high quality rugby, high scoring rugby as well. Like the USA versus Australia game was an advertisement for how
What a
good
game.
rugby is.
What
Do
a
you know what I
game.
mean? It was one of the all-time greats, like watching it as well, and it ended so. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's just what rugby needs. It's
it is.
the kick up the arse that rugby needs.
It really is. And I would love to discuss this in greater depth. And we will have a couple of weeks. Hopefully, Ireland are going to be in this tournament for another 4 weeks. And we'll have loads of time to discuss it all. But David, Ben, I'm going to split you up. Like any great Munster Leinster rivalry, I'm going to split you up now. One of you's going to take the backs, the other one's going to take the forwards. And we'll discuss this predicted team for next week. David, because you mentioned Elena Perry specifically, I'm going to get you to do the forwards. What way would you go? I've gone, as I said, Nebo Dow, Cleona Maloney MacDonald, Linda Dugang, Sam Monaghan, Ruth Campbell, Fiona Chute, Brittany Hogan, Aoife Wafer. What way would you go for Sunday's crunch clash?
I think I would add, I'll just go because I touted her so much, and I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to get Elena Perry to start. I thought she brought incredible strengths both in her open play and in the scrum, against a pretty strong tight head in Spain. I think both players play herself and no doubt plays about 61 minutes in their respective games. So I think it'd be handy if we could even split
Yep.
that a little bit more. I think I have no problem with
61 and 60. So
61 and 60. So I'm all for making earlier swaps when the two players can match up that well. I think that'd be a good call there. I think I might. No, I think I would start. I will start Maloney in at hooker. Although Nee Jones, every time she's on the pitch, she just scores tries. Linda has to hold her place, without question. There, 51 caps. Worth noting, she got her 50th cap, in the match against Spain. There, that is her 50th cap out of 51 games Ireland have played since she got her
yeah,
first cap. But that is
Yeah,
incredible.
insane.
That for any player, that's insane. For a front row forward, that is incredible. Dominance in your position and just durability. Like that is unbelievably incredible
and someone who
from
was
her.
a
So
nurse during COVID, someone who went to France for a period, who plays 70 plus minutes a game, like who swaps from either side of the scrum. Like it's insane.
it's just like it's unbelievable. It's like, come on, like leave something for everybody else. But yeah, no, she's absolute titan. I don't know. I think I find it hard to argue with the rest of that. I think if there's anyone, I'd almost talk myself into saying Grace Moore deserves a starting berth, but it's just very hard to think who you drop out of that back three. Aoife Wafer's definitely fit to start. Is that 100% confirmed that
I'm not
she'll be?
100% sure, but
Yeah, I think
I
that's
think
for
I
me.
think
That's
you
probably the
start
only.
her
I
and
think
go
that's the
from
only
there.
switch up there. I think
Mm.
if Wafer's fit, then she obviously starts. Failing that, I think I'd bring more in. But other than that, I think that's a pack. It's the only thing I'd be encouraging is it's never too early to start switching forwards. And I think if particularly a game that I anticipate is going to be very very intense, but particularly for a forward pack, I think if we have changes, don't be afraid to use the bench. But I think, yeah, the only switch I'd start Perry, and if Wafers, assuming she's 100%, she starts. If she's not, it's more in to start for me.
Okay. And Ben, backline again, I went Riley, O'Brien, Higgins, Dalton, Costigan, Flood, Parsons. Are you as the same boat? Would you go different?
No, I'd go the same starting, but I think I'd bring McGann into the bench.
Okay. And would you go
I
5-3?
Yeah,
Interesting.
mm,
Why?
she's excellent. We need a second centre. I'm worried about the strength of the Black Ferns with our backline.
Hmm.
Was it 2 tries she got against Spain?
2 tries against Spain. She's now scored. I have it here. Just give me 2 seconds. She has scored 7 tries, I think it is, in six. Yeah, seven
Yeah,
tries in 6 starts for Ireland this year.
like
Madness.
in a game that isn't going to be easy. I don't think tries going to be easy to come by as we've had.
Hmm.
I think I'd want that extra back. I don't know who you take out of the forward. I don't know who you. If Aoife Wafer doesn't make it, it makes it a lot easier to go 5-3.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I think McGann is the only. I'd put her in myself at the coin flip, whether you do or not. If Aoife's out, 100% she goes.
No, that makes sense. And I think it is kind of that balancing act. I think they'll go 6-2, but then they haven't gone 6-2 for the first 2 games. Would have been easier to do that if you had in one of those games. There's all that juxtaposition and balancing it up.
It's You don't think McMahon gets the start?
It's not that I don't think she does, it's that I think you have to go with Fiona Shoot at second row or at back
Yes,
row
a back row.
if Sam Monaghan is fit. I think Aoife Wafer will invariably start if she's fit. And I think you have to play Brittany Hogan.
Yeah, but Oakland at 8. Yeah,
She,
McMahon was just so good the weekend.
she was,
She
or two
was.
weeks ago, she was
Yeah.
brilliant. And that's
Oh,
the
look, I
thing.
know. Look, I know. If Aoife's back, if Wafer's back, if Wafer starts. There's no.
And you could go potentially 40-40 with those two, depending on how the game is going
Yeah.
halfway through, and just save players because like France did not look great. But we'll get on to that. We'll have that next week to discuss and so much more. Adam, I'm going to give you the first prediction of this one. Set the mood. Everyone in Ireland is listening to this. They want an emphatic answer. Ireland, are they going to get the job done in Brighton? Are they finally going to, sorry, not finally break their World Cup curse? Are they going to get back to a World Cup semi-final for the first time since 2014? Where are you as of right now?
I think, yeah, I think semi-finals achievable. Definitely achievable with this team. I think the excitement. I forgot to mention about Higgins. I think phenomenal. Like, I think the intercept try was one of those moments where you thought, right, this is it. Do you know when we have like games in the past where you think this tournament's going to go well? Like, this is going to go well because Japan are right at the line. Higgins swoops in. I think phenomenal. I think, as Ben said, I think that having an extra back in that in the back bench will work very well. I think getting to a semi-final is achievable. I think it's very achievable at this moment in time, and that would be phenomenal. And hopefully they will release the fleece.
Well, hopefully we should see. Just really quickly, Ben and David will be talking loads about the World Cup in the coming weeks, so I'll just hold off on predictions from me. But I want to just really quickly talk on the women's Interpros because it did go under the radar. It probably wasn't covered enough. I hold my own hand up in that. But a really fun tournament. And Ben, too, the victor goes to spoil. So I'll let you take this one in terms of, who goes first in our list. And well, Munster. 50
Wait,
points to 15 winners in the
and
final over Leinster. An unbelievable win. But firstly, we'll talk about that first try scorer, Chloe Pearce, in her last game. That is some way to round off your Munster career.
I mean, to go 15-0 up in any game of rugby, is to do it in an Interpro final against a Leinster team who've been so dominant in this competition over recent years. World Cup aside, it's a massive achievement. I could wax lyrical for hours about Chloe Pearce and what she's done for rugby in Munster. She has been a stalwart whenever called upon. She does what she did on Saturday. She will be hugely missed by Munster rugby and by women's rugby in Ireland in general. Couldn't think better way for her to go out with a trophy, go out taking Munster up to Dublin and bringing the trophy back home. I mean, what more do you want? Slight hat tip, that other game, the other third place playoff.
Yes.
What a game of rugby. It's on YouTube. It is one of the best games of rugby I've seen in ages. It's super.
And Hannah Clark's winning score at the end is as good of a winning try as you'll see as well.
Yeah, you won't see better at the World Cup, genuinely. It was incredible. As wonderful as Munster was, sorry, David, wonderless to win in Donnybrook. That game, and look, you made a point, I said it to you earlier, it didn't get enough coverage nationally as it needed. If you're on this on YouTube, go up and search both of those games and just enjoy half an hour of phenomenal rugby. You will not see better.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Adam, you want to jump in there?
I was gonna say, we were bleeding for so long, and it was just sort of like, Ulster back, baby.
But it's also, I can't even be mad. I can't even be mad.
It doesn't matter the code, but as you touched on, Ben, like it was an unbelievable tournament. I watched as much as I could, work dependent and all that, but it was really good. It is an improving competition, and there is question marks being made about where the Interpros falls in the future calendar because it is something that clearly helps develop players. You, the likes of Chloe Pearce starting alongside Katrina Finn, for example, and they're probably about 13 years, 14 years between them in age. And like this is massive. Katrina Finn was incredible over the course of this tournament, for example. Chisholm Aguero, still very, very young, was brilliant. And I'm just listing Munster players because they did go on to win it. Like Leinster
coming through at 9 looks superb as well. Sorry, not a Munster player, but again, looked excellent.
Jane Neal, the Leinster flanker, or Leinster number 8 was brilliant in the 2 games she played. She did get injured, or 3 games she played before she got injured. And there is a purpose for this competition. And I think it is also weirdly fitting when I went through those Munster try scores. Like they scored 7 tries, probably their 6 most important players: Finn, O'Leary, Pearce, Cahill. Try scores of that range. But as you said, if you go in and you go watch the highlights or go in and watch it wherever, you will thoroughly enjoy it. Adam, last word to you there before we go.
I was just gonna make a point saying about how I think the Interpros should go down the Premiership rugby route and having the big day out. So like putting it into like the Aviva and saying this is Munster and Leinster, either before or after, there's going to be a men and a women's game. You're going to pay a ticket. Let's say really promote it, like really promote it, like the way that the Premiership are doing the big day out, and they're like going to like loads of these different stadiums, so even going to like the Principality, like that, do something like that. Like I don't know why the IRFU hasn't done something like that. I hope that it's just an
You'd like to
idea
see
to.
it. You'd like
Oh
to
yeah.
see it in the future, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Gentlemen, we're going to hop off on this because it was a mini pod that we kind of got delayed and then we kind of ran on. But that's because we're excited because we all believe Ireland are going to go to Brighton and win. We're going to say that. I'm not 100% confident, but I'm going to go and I'm going to enjoy myself. And even if not, I can rely on the men's soccer team to win on Saturday night. And on that bombshell, I think it's only fair that we leave it for this evening. My thanks to David, our new guest, to Ben, and to Adam. I should have went in alphabetical order on that one. I'm sorry. I made a mess of that. But we'll be back later in the week as we kick off our provincial previews as the new season slowly descends upon us, like nighttime here outside beside me, I must say, because the evenings are catching up to us. But if you do like what you see here, like and subscribe on YouTube. You know how it works. Lee G will moderate you in the comments if you decide to be a pup. But from me, Kaelan, and from all the team, until next time, slán leat.